Advent reminds us that God is faithful. Hebrews 11 is full of stories of men and women who stepped out in faith in response to God's call. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a land he would receive as an inheritance, it says. And he went out, not knowing where he was going. Now, Abraham's faith is inspiring. When he was childless, at 75 years old, God promised to make him the father of a great nation. And if you know the story, you'll know that God miraculously gave him and his wife Sarah a child, Isaac, when he was 100 years old and she was 90. And so I think a lot of us, when we read that story, we think, man, how could anyone not have faith after something like that happened? And while that's true, there's also more to the story that we don't always think about. You see, Sarah was 127 years old when she died, a full 62 years after God promised to make Abraham the father of a great nation. And when she died, she had one child and no grandchildren. This was a full 62 years after God's promises. So I don't think anyone would have blamed Abraham if he just packed things up and he took his wife back to their homeland to bury her there. I mean, after all, if God hadn't delivered on his promises in 62 years, when would he? But Abraham didn't do that. Hebrews 11 tells us, but if they had been thinking about the land from which they had come, they would have had opportunity to go back. But as it stands, they desired a better country, that is, a heavenly one. You see, Abraham believed God's promises. And so instead of taking his wife back to their homeland and burying her there, he purchased a plot of land from the Hittites and buried Sarah in the promised land. In Genesis chapter 23, it tells us almost casually that the place where he buried her would one day be renamed Hebron, the first capital of the great nation under King David. You see, God is faithful, and he delivered on all of the promises that he made to Abraham. Hebrews chapter 10 challenges us. Let us hold fast to the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. This Advent season, remember the faithfulness of Jesus. He was faithful in going to the cross. He's a faithful high priest, and like God was to Abraham, he will be faithful to deliver to us everything he's promised.